Welcome to Profound Appétit. This year we're going to actually dive a little bit into a different culture, the culture of Vietnamese. So as we kind of take you through some recipes today, I wanted to introduce you to my partner in crime today, which is Duc Nguyen. And Duc has been working for Profound for the last, how long?
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
Perfect. And Duc, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm from Ho Chi Minh City, which is Saigon, southern of Vietnam. And I've been in U.S. for 4 years.
Beautiful. Excellent. And what do you do for the company?
Oh, I'm a graphic designer. So
Excellent. So I guess as we dive into this a little bit and we talk a little bit about the culture today, tell us a little bit about the culture, where it's come from, what makes Vietnamese food so unique.
what the thing makes Vietnamese food is unique because we're using fresh ingredients.
Absolutely.
Yeah, home food, everything. Yeah, and we kind of localize the original food. For example, my country got influenced by Chinese and French cuisine a lot. For example, the Vietnamese sandwiches nowadays is we learn from French that we're using French baguettes,
Yep.
some pate, butter, but instead of we using ham, because back then ham is just a fancy food for upper class. So we cannot use that.
Okay.
People, we localize by using chicken or pork.
Okay.
We marinate it and put it in the sandwich, and we have
That's what we call
really
banh mi.
specific. Yeah,
We're showing
sandwiches.
off our banh mi pins today.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of you have probably seen banh mi, and some of the more popular dishes that we would typically see in America would be, of course, banh mi, and then things like pho.
Oh yeah,
Exactly.
talk about pho. So because my country is the S-shaped long, and each of regions of the country will have a different flavors profile. For example, northern Vietnam, the flavor is subtle, light. So pho over there is a little bit lighter and really fragrance from herbs. But pho in southern Vietnam is sweeter, and more savory because we love sweet.
Beautiful.
Yes. But central of Vietnam, the flavor is more bold and spicy.
Okay.
So that is where we have Vietnamese spicy beef noodle.
Okay.
Have you ever had?
I have not.
Oh, it's really good
And
too.
so is it just marinated with like a Thai chili and something along those lines?
Yes, like lemongrass, Thai chili,
Okay.
and some anchovy too.
Oh wow, beautiful.
Yeah, that's why
So
it's
the
really
anchovy
strong.
influence probably also comes from from French cuisine as well.
Yep, right.
Beautiful. And then some of the fresh ingredients you talked about, like some of the traditional things that are used in Vietnamese culture would be something like basil,
Yes.
or mint. Those are fairly common, right?
Yes.
What
yes.
other types of fresh ingredients are typically used?
One of the unique thing in food, Vietnamese food, that we're using fish sauce a lot.
And
Like
so we have an
most
example of
the
fish sauce here.
dishes, Yeah. And to balance the flavor, the saltiness of fish sauce, we kind of put sugar.
So sugar. So yeah, yeah. We that totally makes sense. That fits perfectly. That really balances it nice. Anytime you kind of add a vinegar or you have a fish sauce, you add a sugar to sort of balance that sweet and
Right.
that savory for sure.
Right.
Another unique one that I actually hadn't been familiar with until you and I had talked was the pickled soybean. So tell me a little bit about that.
So pickled soybean is actually a fermented soybean with the salt, and they fermented for a long time. So that's why the flavor is salty. It's salty.
Yeah.
And we kind of mix with hoisin sauce, which is a little bit sweet, and peanut butter to give a little bit kick of peanut flavors. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And sugar again.
Sugar. There you go. Perfect.
Yeah.
That's actually one of the most unique ones for sure. It's similar to the idea of when they make soy sauce, and soy sauce is made by fermenting soybean. Same concept here, but this has a really unique flavor, and it's something that I think really adds a lot to define Vietnamese food. When you taste this, it's really delicious. And obviously the fish sauce as well. So additionally here, we also have an ingredient that we're going to talk a little bit about today that you've kind of prepped in advance, and that is our pickled vegetables.
Yep.
Okay, so talk a little bit about that, and I'll lift it up here.
With pickled vegetable, it should be sweet because other ingredients gonna be salty. So that pickle should be sweet pickle. I prepared with kind of 1/3 cup of vinegar, some sugar, and dilute a little bit with water. Soak it overnight or soak it a couple hours before you serve it.
Absolutely. And so that's something that it will pick up the flavor overnight. But at the same time, if you leave it sit for a week, be totally fine because it's pickled. So that vinegar will protect that from spoiling. All right. So one of the next ingredients that's really important with a lot of what we're doing is the rice paper. So tell us a little bit about rice paper.
So rice paper, I'm not sure like when it was created, but it was long time before because it's easy to pack for farmer to get on the field as a food, And the way we're making it is we will mix the rice flour with water in a certain proportion.
Okay.
And we have a hot boil water pot, stretching fabric over that pot, and we will pour the batter on top, cook it a little bit, and after it cooked, we move the rice paper over a long bamboo tray.
Okay.
And then we sun dry it for a day.
Okay.
And that's how we make rice paper.
Beautiful. So it's similar to making a traditional paper. You've got a slurry and some water, and then you're letting that dry. And of course, once it's to the point where it's translucent and dry, it gets cut out to these shapes, which is wonderful. And we're gonna use them today in today's recipe a little bit to kind of take you through a few items. We have a couple of things we're going to focus on. The first thing that we did for fun, which is Vietnamese coffee, a traditional recipe that we'll quickly talk about here. We're not going to show too much about it, but it's super simple to make. So let's talk about how you quickly put that together.
So I use 2 tablespoons of condensed milk. And
sweetened condensed milk.
Yes. And 2 shots of espresso Vietnamese coffee.
Yep. So you can, of course, if you can get your hands on Vietnamese espresso, wonderful. If you can't, espresso by itself with it is wonderful and it tastes great. It's a very strong drink. It's delicious. Throw some ice in there. It'll wake you up and is really delicious for sure.
Gỏi, cuốn, cimarron.
Nón quay thao em đợi sân đỉnh, mấy anh ai quay đâu như cúng đỉnh, mà các dân chơi gọi là.
Okay, so let's go into today's recipes. Summer rolls. Now there's spring rolls and summer rolls. Take us through the difference between the two of them real quick.
Okay, so it's still roll, wrap thing, something inside, but spring roll is a deep fried roll, and inside is mostly meat, some vermicelli, some.
And so for what that is, that's going to be a rice noodle.
Oh yeah.
Right, rice noodle.
Rice noodle. Yeah, and summer roll is using herbs, fresh up a lot.
Fresh herbs.
Boil protein like shrimp or pork.
Okay.
Yeah, and the reason we call it summer roll, I don't know why we call it summer roll, but I assume that because the way we eat summer roll is kind of using cold ingredients.
That makes sense.
So it's
a little bit more refreshing during the summer.
But spring roll, we have to deep fry it, so it's suitable for spring.
Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So,
And of course, we're going to be dipping those wonderful summer rolls in a peanut sauce, which is delicious as well. So we're going to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. Do you know how we call Vietnamese summer roll?
Tell me.
In Vietnamese.
Tell me.
Yeah. Gỏi cuốn.
Okay, I'm going to end up butchering it, but I'm going to try gỏi cuốn.
Yeah.
Okay.
And gỏi cuốn is actually, if you translate to English, it's going to be like salad.
Oh, okay.
Rolls.
Oh, interesting. So salad roll, and then what would be the translation of the spring the spring roll instead?
More like a steamed paste meat roll.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. All right. So let's take you through some of the ingredients that we're going to be using for this dish today. The first thing that we have is talk about the proteins that we just have here. So we can do a mix of proteins. There's a number of different options you can do. Because we're trying to go for a lighter flair, we chose shrimp today.
Yeah.
And again, this is either steamed or boiled shrimp. Pretty straightforward. And then we actually have also some pork, some really thinly sliced pork that we're going to put in, correct?
Yeah. And you can substitute with chicken too.
Chicken. Wonderful. And of course, a primary ingredient, is going to be the rice, the rice noodles, and then we're going to be wrapping it in the rice paper. But we've got some really fresh vegetables. That's what makes this such a fresh dish. So we've got some fresh lettuce, some fresh basil, and some fresh mint. All very traditional flavors that really add a nice pop to the entire dish. All right, so diving into this dish, we're going to have you kind of take us through a little bit. I'm going to be the student. You're going to be the teacher. Okay, so take us through the process initially. I'm assuming we're going to be starting with rice paper.
Yeah,
Is that
so
correct?
we will quick dip rice paper through the water and put it on a plate. Then we will display some of the shrimp in the
Okay.
bottom. Then later, to make sure that later we could show the shrimp outside. You know?
Okay.
And then we use lettuce, put it on top. Lettuce will keep everything inside.
Okay.
So a little bit of rice noodle and thinly sliced pork. Yeah.
Okay.
Then we roll it a bit. Fold both sides and we roll all the way.
Okay. Okay.
So that's how we do it
So do we put the shrimp in the beginning or we put the shrimp in after? We put it in
in the beginning
Okay.
because we want to show shrimp.
So one question I have is if we notice this rice paper has two textures to it.
Yeah.
There's a side that's a little glossy and there's a side that's a little rough. Is there a way to put this down? Is there one way? Do you have to do it over the other?
Yeah, usually you show the glossy side.
Perfect.
You put it in the bottom because we want to show the glossy side.
Glossy side out for presentation. Okay, perfect. So to kind of give a feel, we have a plate here that it's hard to tell, but there's water on this plate ready to go. It's not hot water, it's just water. So we'll have the ability to be able to dip this in and get this to the right consistency so that we can work with it. So go ahead, I'm going to follow your lead.
Like this.
Okay. I'll do the same. Looks like. Okay, so 3 pieces of shrimp. And the shrimp has been sliced in half so that it's not too thick. And I think for presentation purposes, we want to present them downward so that you see them because you will see them through the actual paper.
Right. And then we're using letters.
Okay.
Kind of remove the hard part in of the letters a little bit.
Okay. Now, is my paper not wet enough?
It's okay.
It's okay. Okay.
You will want to put the ingredient kind of end
Oh, on the end.
out of the edge.
Okay. Good advice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we're gonna roll it. All the
Perfect.
way.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Just like this.
Yes. And now use just a little bit of rice noodle.
Vermicelli.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. I'm going to borrow that fork off of you. Actually, I'll just steal this one.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. You don't need a lot.
Don't need. It's a very small amount of ingredients because if
Yeah.
not, it's going to be hard to close it up.
Right.
Okay, and I got 2 pieces of pork here.
Yeah. And
Perfect.
now don't forget pickled carrot.
Yep. The pickled carrots are going to add a nice little sweet bite to this, so we definitely want to add that for sure. I'm going to do a tiny bit extra in mine, although I think it's just too much, but okay.
Yeah. And now herbs. So we use some basil leaves, some mint.
Perfect. So we got basil leaves here. I'm going to watch how you do this.
Yeah.
I got a big
Put
basil
it
leaf
long
compared to
rice,
yours.
yeah.
I'm ripping you're going to rip the actual,
Yeah.
perfect, and then some mint.
Some mint.
Thank you.
Yeah. And now here, you can see, we will try to tight everything
Okay.
with just one round first, see? And now fold both sides in
Okay.
before we run on the way down. Yeah. And now we roll everything down to the edge.
Perfect. And then you just fold in the edges. Perfect. Perfect. All right. Now how's that look? Beautiful. And so we're going to do one more.
Thank you.
We'll do one more each. We'll snack on one. There you go.
Shrimp.
Okay. Oh, I'm going to use my hands here. Okay.
Yeah. And then lettuce.
Okay, some lettuce. We break the ribs off the end of it.
Some rice. Some vermicelli.
Okay. A little bit of pork.
Yes.
Okay.
Pickled carrot.
There you go. We'll bring this over between us. There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Herbs. Mint. Basil. This is a really big basil.
All right. Basil and mint. So I'm going to take just a couple pieces of mint. And we don't want the stems on these.
Yeah.
All right, and then we start to roll.
Yeah.
So we get one complete roll.
Yes.
Try to tuck it in.
Yes. And fold both sides in to keep the ingredient inside.
Okay, and then we keep rolling. And there we go.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Ooh, yours now really beautiful.
Okay, so the last thing we're going to talk about here is this wonderful sauce that we're going to be dipping these summer rolls into. So we're going to talk a little bit about what we're using for this, which is a peanut-based sauce. So tell us a little bit about the sauce, and then we'll kind of go to the stovetop and cook that real quick.
So you will need some soybean paste,
Okay.
hoisin sauce, and peanut butter sauce with some sugar and some water.
Sugar and water. Perfect. Okay, excellent. So we'll see you over at the stove, and we'll show you how to make this. Okay, so now we're going to kind of sit at the stovetop here and talk a little bit about making some of these ingredients. So the first thing we're going to do today is make the accompanying sauce that we're going to be using for our summer rolls. It's a delicious peanut sauce that we can use on a number of different things, but it's really great on these summer rolls. So diving into that, let's talk quickly about the ingredients that we have once again. So I'm going to have you kind of take us through that.
So we have soybean paste,
Okay.
hoisin sauce, peanut butter, sugar, and a little bit of water.
Perfect. So we're going to kind of, it's really simple. We're going to just really combine these items. So I have a medium pan right now. I'm putting the soybean paste in here initially. And I'm going to try to estimate some of what our proportions are, but we will put them in the recipe for you after the fact. So I've got this on medium heat. I'm just heating this up lightly. You can also start this with a little bit of fresh garlic if you have that available to you. The second thing we have is our hoisin sauce, which I'm going to just go for a small little teaspoon of this based on the proportion of what we have currently.
You can put more.
Put more? Okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
Like at least half of it.
Oh, half of it. Okay, got it. Okay, let's do this. Yep, let's go. Thank you so much. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. And the peanut butter, I'm going to do all the peanut butter. Is that fair? Okay. So we've got all the peanut butter in here. Then we're just using just a tiny bit of sugar just to balance it out.
Yep.
So I'm going to go
Yeah, that's good.
1.5. And now we mix. We're going to start with our mixing initially, and then we're going to thin this out with some water.
Yep, because it's a little bit thick.
Yep, it's a little thick, and our temperature is a little high right now, so I'm going to go down a little bit lower on that. Use the water based on what you think is necessary for the right consistency that we're going for. Probably a tiny bit more water.
Yep.
Okay, and this will thicken up a little bit as well, even after, since it's heated up, it's going to thicken up. So, adjust my temperature here and there, just to get this right. Okay, I think we're probably good. It's as simple as that. It's a fairly dark sauce. Does that look about the right consistency to you? Maybe a tiny bit more water just because it's going to...
Sure. Yeah, good idea.
Okay, good. All right, I'm going to turn the temperature down a bit right now so that we don't actually reduce any further. I'm going to keep this thinned out to the... There we go.
Perfect.
I think that's perfect.
say mang lời hứa trao duyên như bao hẹn ước đêm nay đêm trăng rằm hội lim biết em đâu mà tìm chót thương em đâu thể ngồi im cầm khăn
Bánh tráng nướng Vietnamese pizza.
biết em đâu mà tìm chót thương em đâu thể ngồi.
Okay, so the next recipe that we're going to actually talk about is a newer dish that's in Vietnam that's really gotten a lot of buzz lately. So it's a fun, easy dish to do. What I would call in America a Vietnamese pizza. But what is the traditional name for it?
So it's called bánh tráng nướng.
Okay, bun chang no.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry, everybody out there, if I butchered that, but we're going to talk about it. It's very simple to make. We just had a couple of prep items in advance. So let's talk about the ingredients and kind of where we can go with this. So let's talk about what we've kind of prepared here. The first base start, of course, to most dishes is going to be rice paper, right?
Yeah.
And then tell me a little bit about some of the stuff we put on this.
So we can use some of the quail eggs and then some protein. You can use ground pork, hot dogs, and topping with some herbs. That is green onion oil.
Okay. So the green onion oil we prepared in advance. It's just a vegetable oil with green onions chopped in it. And that's typically used as a base. That adds a really beautiful flavor. We also have a chicken egg that we're going to use because I think it's more typical that you would find chicken eggs here, of course. If you can get your hands on some quail eggs, wonderful. We're going to use both for this dish just for fun. But that's typical. And then tell me a little bit about how you've prepared the pork here that we're going to be putting on it.
Yeah, so I saute garlic first and then put meat in with some with a dash of fish sauce, some sugar, and a little bit of salt.
Perfect. So some pork, fish sauce, garlic, and a little pinch of sugar, basically, to kind of balance it all out. And again, when you add fish sauce, you put a little sugar in there, it kind of adds that nice little yin-yang balance kind of back and forth.
Right.
So really straightforward. And then the last two primary ingredients or three ingredients are the accoutrements that we might put on the top. Now, I'll start by also saying that the meats and the proteins that we've chosen for today, they can really be any number of things. If it's typically you have chicken, if it's typical that you have maybe, like you said, spam. Yep.
Yes. Or even like beef jerky.
Beef jerky, which is new to me, that's for sure. But we've done some hot dogs today, and we've also done this beautiful pork. And then when we finish it off at the end, we can put some fresh herbs. We can put some fresh green onion on top. And then we can do, of course...
Kewpie.
Mayonnaise. I'd say Kewpie. Kewpie mayo. Yeah. This is the best mayo. If you can't get Kewpie mayo, then go ahead and get yourself just any mayo. But you got to have a mayo on top. It adds a nice little creamy factor to it. Yeah. One thing that's unique about this dish as well is the fact that we don't typically put a traditional cheese like you would do in the United States. However, they do have some cheese varieties. Tell me a little bit about that.
So we use the smiling cow cheese instead.
So everybody's seen that. It's the cheese that you'd get in a circle that comes with the little pizza-shaped triangles that are actually wrapped in foil. Yeah. Peel them off, lay that on top, and spread it out. Has a really beautiful creamy flavor, creamy texture to it. And then the last thing is for heat. We've got a couple of things we can do. We've got hot sauce.
Yes.
We can make a traditional hot sauce, which would be with with Thai chili and oil
and garlic. And many more herbs.
Many more herbs. So there's a number of things you can do. There's also a lot of pre-prepared hot sauces that are out there these days that you can kind of get into a glass jar that you keep in your fridge. You can sprinkle that on top as well to kind of add a little heat to this. So again, we'll kind of dive into how to create this. We're going to see you over at the stove and we'll make it there. And so now moving on to the Vietnamese pizza. And again, how's that wording again? What is it called?
Bánh tráng nướng.
Bánh tráng nướng. Okay, perfect. Okay, so I'm going to go on medium heat right now. Now, I'll say this. Traditionally, it's not cooked this way, right?
Yeah.
How's it typically done?
It's supposed to be on charcoal grill.
On a charcoal grill,
yeah,
right?
Because that's way the rice paper gets more crispy.
Yeah. Makes sense. And this is also a dish that's used typically in a street food application. So you're going to have people that are grabbing this as a quick snack. We're going to show it today in pizza style, but a lot of times they fold it over.
Yes.
And they present it that way because it's easy to carry. right? So diving into this, first things first, we start with our typical ingredient of rice paper, right? And so I'm going to start with the rice paper and lay that down in the pan. We also have pre-prepared some green onion oil. So I'm going to sprinkle some of that on top of this and spread that. Well, I'm going to let that spread by itself, actually. I'm going to just put a little bit of additional oil in there. And then I got my egg. Now, we have a chicken egg here. We're going to do 2 types of egg here, but I'm going to pour my egg on top and spread that throughout. Okay, so I'll use my spoon here to make sure that I have that spread evenly. Kind of push that throughout this pizza. And then we add our proteins, right? So we're going to go in with the pork that we prepared in advance. We're going to sprinkle that on top. And notice this pizza's starting to crisp up already in the inside here. So we do a little bit of the pork. We do a little bit of our hot dog. Okay. And you can kind of mix it up and put really anything you want on this to make this delicious. I think, again, if we were doing this, we probably would maybe even add a little bit of cheese. And as we're kind of crisping up here, we're starting to finish a little bit and get this egg cooked. I've also prepared some of these additional quail eggs that we're going to just pour in place so that we can actually keep the yolks soft. So we have a mix of 2 different types of egg. Egg is the star of this dish. And I'm just going to do maybe 1 or 2 more. Again, just so that it looks nice and beautiful. We get that nice little crunch of, that nice little bite of egg yolk where we're going. You don't have to do this if you can't get your hands on quail eggs. It looks like that one's about to fall off. So I'm going to try to push that back on and hold it there until it firms up a little bit. Okay, I'm just going to give this a couple seconds to crisp up a little bit more and get these quail eggs to get slightly cooked through. If you're a little skittish about the whites, you can always break these so that they cook a little bit more. I like a little bit of that yolk, and I don't mind that egg being a little bit undercooked. And what do you think? Does that look pretty good for the time being?
Perfect.
Okay. I'm going to go a tiny bit crispier because it looks like when I reach underneath it, it's not quite as crispy as I'd like it to be. We want this to be a pizza style, so we want it to be a little bit crispy. All right, I'm going to kick our temperature off and then get this pizza out of the pan. Okay. And then our finishing touch here, we're going to keep it here just so we can kind of show what we're doing with it. But can you grab those other ingredients on top? Or this is where we top it with, go ahead. Top it with a little bit of QP mayo. Beautiful. And a little bit of hot sauce. Wonderful. And then lastly would be probably some crispy shallots for some nice texture. And that's it. That's our finished product. All right, and now we're going to do this once more, kind of show Duck's variety of this and how she has traditionally learned how to do this. So the first thing, of course, the rice paper in. She's going to put our scallion oil or our green onion oil, just a little bit of that. And then she puts the protein on top as well and kind of intermixes that together. So we've got both proteins kind of going in. And then it's going to be topped with the egg after that. So first thing is just spread this around, kind of get it cooked up nice so we can mix that scallion or that green onion within it. Last thing is the chicken egg. And then if you happen to have quail eggs, then you can always apply that, which is what we're going to do today because we happen to have them here. So as you can see, Duck is going and spreading the egg throughout the pizza. Letting that cook down a bit right now.
Just some more.
Some additional protein loaded on up.
Yep. Now I'm waiting a little bit for egg cooked.
Okay. Just going to let the egg firm up a little bit and let the rice paper get a little crispy.
Yep.
And then the quail eggs are going on top. Again, these quail eggs add just a really beautiful texture at the end because you get that yolk. Nice little bite of yolk. Quags are fairly easy to come by. If you haven't noticed, you can pick them up at any Asian market. And I actually just noticed that I could buy them at Costco even recently. So they're pretty easy to get if you happen to have a farm nearby as well. It's a real simple thing to pick up. So we're going to let that firm up a little bit right now. Making a masterpiece. Okay. And then we come in with our QP mayo. I'll let her do that. Little dollops of that throughout. Adds a nice creaminess. It also looks really beautiful. And then we've got our hot sauce. There's a couple different hot sauces we can do. We can actually do a traditional Thai chili with oil and sprinkle that on top. It adds a nice little beautiful texture as well. And then the last thing would be our scallops, our shallots, which we're happen to have these. These are deep fried shallots that add a nice little bite. They're a really great flavor, and they also have a nice crispiness. And we're pretty close. Take your time, whenever it's done. Tell me. I would even say that I would venture to throw a tiny bit of salt on top of those eggs, just to add a little bit of nice saltiness to them as well.
Okay, I think it's ready.
All right, here we go. Beautiful. Nice crispiness. You can hear the crispiness. Really great. And then again, you can fold this over for on the go and really simply take that with you.
Ăn một miếng trầu bằng một chiếc cầu bao lời chưa ngỏ duyên mình.
All right, well, thank you so much for joining us today. Enjoy this recipe, and I hope you have a good time cooking. Cheers.
1, 2, 3, vô.